Have you ever remembered a game from your childhood, one that you weren't sure if it was actually good or if it was bad? For me, that's Frogger 2, Swampy's Revenge, and thankfully I now know it's not too bad. It's unfortunately very short. It's about 3 hours long, probably one of the shortest 3D platformers I've ever played, but it's not too bad. Now, I'm not going to do a review because I've never done a review, and I'm probably bad at it, so instead I'm going to rank all the levels. I mean, I'm probably going to be bad at this as well, but number 27, Blockade. So I'm going to be honest with you all. Every super retro stage in the arcade mode of this game is at the bottom of this list. If you like them, that's great, but to me they replicate the old arcade versions of Frogger a little too well. They are difficult, but a difficulty I don't like. They require less skill and more luck, and to me, the worst of these is Blockade. First of all, it seems like you need to be lucky to get something to show up on the right timing, like a log to stand on. It feels like I get trapped sometimes, and there isn't anything I can do to survive. That's something all the super retro stages have in common, but the reason why Blockade is the worst is because the narrow paths you must take, making getting lucky, well, way luckier. Number 26, Twister. So Twister has all the same problems as Blockade, what with the narrow corridors and everything. The main difference with this one is that the entire thing is just water hazards and no roads. The fact that everything moves slower than it did in Blockade makes this one just slightly more tolerable. Number 25, Round the Bend. So this one involves going around a bend in the road. Technically the paths in this are narrow, but because the direction you're going to is either towards or reverse of the cars, it doesn't feel really as bad. The main problem I have with this one is that the timing between moving from lane to lane can feel luck-based sometimes. Number 24, Way Back When. This level is basically the same as the arcade version of Frogger, at least in gameplay. Obviously the graphics are much better. I'm not really a fan of this. The difficulty feels cheap at times, and in my opinion it's just not fun. Now don't get me wrong, I still think it's cool that they made this a level in the game, and I would rather it be in the game than not, but that doesn't mean I have to find it fun. Number 23, Toad Road. Toad Road is basically Way Back When, but remove the water portion and make it easier. I mean, way easier. I had zero problems beating this level. It was almost like they realized how cheap some of the difficulty was in the other levels, so they made this one to be so easy you could do it in your sleep. Number 22, Frog Jam. Honestly, besides the glitchiness, I don't actually hate this level. Just like how Toad Road is Way Back When without the water parts, Frog Jam is Way Back When with only the water parts. Now hopefully nobody is confused by the way I speak. I don't consider any of these super retro levels hard, just cheap, and Frog Jam doesn't feel cheap to me. It's also not super easy like Toad Road is. It's still nothing too special, which is why it's only at number 22 and not higher. Number 21, Gridlock. This level feels like if Toad Road and Frog Jam had a baby, just like Toad Road. This level is all road and no water, but like Frog Jam, this level has a good balance between not being cheap and not being too easy. Number 20, One Way. This one actually has an interesting idea behind it. Instead of just crossing the road, you have traffic coming towards the screen and you must cross to either the left or right sides to get the frogs. Number 19, Driven Back. Similar to One Way with the traffic going towards the screen instead of left and right, the difference with this one is the frogs aren't on the side, so there's no crossing traffic. Instead you have to go against the traffic to get to the frogs at the top of the screen. Number 18, Like Clockwork. I actually kind of like this one. It feels the most original of the super retro levels. In this level you must move around the cars that are just going in a circle as you make your way around the level, picking up all the baby frogs. Okay, that doesn't sound very original, but trust me, it is. Number 17, Training. I mean, it's a tutorial. Thankfully, unlike some bad tutorials, this one's pretty short, sweet, and it's straight to the point. It teaches you the basics. It doesn't pause the game to say, oh hey, you should press the button to jump. In fact, it's very easy to just skip over all the instructions, and if you do know how to play the game already, skipping the instructions just makes this level a normal stage. an extremely short normal stage, but a normal stage nonetheless. Number 16, Grindstone. Grindstone starts out with you avoiding well. I assume those are the grindstones the level is named after. Something I didn't remember from playing this as a child, the elevated parts here are there because the boulders have indents, and standing in those elevated parts are safe because of said indents. Fortunately, after the beginning part, this level becomes just a standard run-of-the-mill avoid enemies and projectiles type of level. Number 15, Graveyard Garden. Graveyard Garden, as you could probably guess by the name, is a graveyard themed level. The first enemy you see in Graveyard Garden is one of the more unique enemies. You see, all the other enemies follow the tile grid in some way. They go up, down, left, and right, but they never go diagonal. But you see, this ghost doesn't even go diagonal. It freely moves wherever it wants. It doesn't follow the rules of the living, just as a ghost should. Getting away from these things is a bit interesting sometimes. In fact, later on in this level, you get followed by two of these things, and I ended up running straight into a pit trying to get away from them. At the end of the level, there's a cheat part where you have to rush past these two statues as they drop their axes down. That part I didn't really like, but other than that, this is a good level. Number 14, Pyramid Climb. A temple themed level where you start off by, well, climbing a pyramid. After you climb down the other side of the pyramid, you end up in a weird tree rail grind spot. I'm not actually sure of the point of that. Having not played either Sonic Adventure or Sonic Adventure 2, I thought it was just weirdly copying Sonic's rail grinding. But after looking it up, Sonic Adventure 1 doesn't have rail grinding, and Sonic Adventure 2 came out after Frogger 2. So there goes my theory on that one. After that, at the end of the level, you have to try to dodge these easily avoidable blocks that can either push you into a pit or smush you against another block. But it's easy. Number 13, Haunted House. Haunted House starts out with a literal bang as the floor explodes in front of you. There's a very interesting part of this level where you have to keep running around a bedroom trying to collect the purple baby frog as the ghost constantly teleports him/her around. I thought this was pretty cool, though one complaint is they could have made it more obvious where you're supposed to go after getting the baby frog. Afterwards, you make your way to a giant witch's cauldron. After completing this level, I'm left with a question. Why would Swampy use this place as a home or lair? It's a haunted house. Unless the ghosts are his minions and he somehow controls them, I don't know. Also, on a semi-unrelated note, this is the first and last level where I got a game over, which is funny to me, because as a child I remember getting a ton of game overs. Either I'm now really good at video games, or the more likely thing is I was very bad at games as a child. Number 12, Boulder Canyon. A mostly standard temple themed level. Not sure why this is called Boulder Canyon. It's in a temple, not a canyon. A couple of things to note though in this level. The first thing is that you get to play as Lily for the very first time. And the second is that pretty cool boulder chase at the end of the level. I do wish the boulder chase was throughout more of the level though. They could have done like Crash Bandicoot and just had safe areas around the baby frogs and then continue the boulder chase until you get to the next area with the baby frog. But oh well, it's still a fun level nonetheless. This level, as you could probably tell, takes place in an ant's nest, which is just, yeah. If it wasn't for the mostly unique theme, I probably would have put this lore on the list because I hate bugs. But if I just ignore that hatred for bugs, even I can admit it's pretty cool. That there's even a section where you jump on the things the ants are holding, like leaves, an entire cake. Either that's a really small cake, maybe a cupcake, or those things are really large ants. Actually, now that I think about it, if Frogger is a normal sized Frogger, then those are very large ants. Wait a minute, did I just imply that cupcakes are as small as ants? They definitely aren't. At least not any cupcake I've ever eaten. Number 10, The Garden. The very first level of the game, not counting the tutorial that is. This one is a level that introduces you to the fact that this isn't going to be a normal Frogger game. Instead of dodging cars and trucks, you dodge bees and lawnmowers. You still have to cross water by jumping onto logs, turtles, and crocodiles. Something to note about this level that I really like is at the end you have a choice. Take an easy path to double jump over the pond onto the orange baby frog, or take the long path and get the final coin along with a free 1-up. Obviously, if you're a completionist, then you're going for the final coin, but I still think that choices like that in gameplay are great, especially for people who don't want to 100% the game. Number 9, Lava Palaver. I have no idea if I pronounced that name correctly. In this level, Frogger jumps into an active volcano. Look, I don't want to nitpick the realism of a video game where you play as a male and a female frog as you chase after a crocodile who has kidnapped the female frog's baby siblings, but that's actually a lie. I definitely want to nitpick the realism of a video game where you play as a male and a female frog as you chase after a crocodile who has kidnapped the female frog's baby siblings. With that out of the way, how is Frogger still alive? He should be a roasted frog right about now. Number 8, The Gold Mine. This level takes place in a gold mine. Man, I should get an award for telling you guys obscure facts about levels in Frogger 2. I mean, I doubt anyone would have known this level named The Gold Mine would ever figure out that this level took place in a gold mine. Anyways, my favorite part of this level is where you ride the mine carts. Specifically this part where you ride the mine carts. But man, I remember dying a lot here. I really must have sucked at this as a kid. For some reason, I also remember having a hard time nailing the timing for getting past the spiders during the part where you ride the crates in the toxic waste. Though I definitely still felt the anxiety during this part. But that was probably because of my arachnophobia, not because of the part actually being hard or anything. Number 7, the 5Co Lab. I'm pretty sure this level is supposed to be pronounced as Disco Lab, but the developers didn't want me to pronounce it as the 5Co Lab, then they probably shouldn't have spelt it with the number 5. I do love that they made the first futuristic level a disco-themed level. Nothing feels more futuristic than something that died in the 70s. Also, if you play this, don't do what I did. Even though the levels always end after getting the 5th baby frog, I, for some reason, thought I could still pick up the final 3 coins afterwards. Thankfully, this level is both a fun and short stage, otherwise I would have been upset at myself. It wasn't the game's fault, I'm an idiot. Number 6, Infernal Machine. Ignore the fact that I'm playing as Swampy here, I forgot to hit record, so I replayed it as Swampy. This level involves constantly going to the left as you slowly climb to the top of whatever this machine is. This level reminds me a lot of that level in Rayman 2 where you have to outrun the water while going up. At least visually it reminds me of that level. Obviously there's differences, like there's no water chasing you in this level. Now before someone says, what are you talking about, this level looks nothing like the Rayman 2 level. Well, I've never actually played Rayman 2, which is why I said they visually look similar to me. Number 5, Research Facility, another futuristic theme level. No disco though, I guess disco really is dead. This one has you going through the smallish rooms as you take elevators down to other smallish rooms. An interesting enemy in this level are the monkey guys who move 1 tile for every tile you move. I'm actually surprised they aren't in more levels. Then there's these enemies later on that you have to avoid while the hallways get more narrow. I found it hard to time myself going around them. Then I felt like an idiot when I remembered I could just double jump over them. Also, I'm incredibly confused by what happened here. How did I go flying to the left when I jumped forward? Number 4, Space Station. Space Station has a unique gimmick to it. In this level, you start out in a central hub-like area where you can go around and choose one of 5 paths to go to. Considering that there are 5 baby frogs to collect in each level, you can probably correctly assume that there is a baby frog at the end of each path. Similar to the original Frogger or Frogger 97, after getting each baby frog, you are then teleported back to the beginning of the area, where you can then choose a different path to get a different baby frog. Or you could choose the same path, reach a dead end, and have to backtrack back to the beginning, but why would you do that? Number 3, Space Suckers. Just like in Space Station, you start in the central hub area and then you take a path that will eventually lead you to a baby frog. Unlike Space Station though, you don't always get teleported back. Sometimes you take another path that returns you. Also, unlike Space Station, you can't really choose what path you take. There will always be one path that you have to take and the others are blocked off somehow. This level also ends in a winding path that leads up to the final frog. There are 3 lanes going up this winding path and you move between them to avoid the enemies coming down. Something I never even realized until I watched NitroRad's video review of this game is that each lane has a specific enemy, so that way you can tell at a glance which lane you need to avoid. That's some pretty good level design. Number 2, Space Chase. I love this level. I even almost made it my number 1 pick. In this level, you're chasing after Swampy in a spaceship as you dodge the mines and rockets he throws at you. Every once in a while, he'll also drop a frog which you have to collect. Watch out though, because if you miss the frog, then you have to wait until your next pass before picking them up. Also, the bonus coins are very easy to get in this level because of the many laps you take around the course. Number 1, the Wind Up. I know I said this in the last level, but I really love this one. In this level, you play as Tad, one of the baby frogs. This whole time, Frogger and Lily have been saving the baby frogs. Now it's time for one of them to return the favor. The main reason why I love this level is I just like how the further up you go, the more explosions occur and the more things seem to be breaking. I always love stages in games where things seem to be blowing up around the player. Probably why I like the boiler room part of Oddworld too. The only thing about this level I don't really like, I wish there was a bigger payoff at the end. You just go up another tube and the level kind of ends. Just like this video.